All right, and we are recording. We are live.
Mouse
Good
one.
evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Dfree 12 Steps Financial Freedom Academy check-in. I'm Tamika Stembridge, the Executive Director of the Dfree Global Foundation. To have our co-host, my co-host, Dr. Sori's on. How are you, sir? You got to unmute, I think.
I'm doing well. I'm snowed in, but I'm warm, thank God. And it's February. Can you believe it's 1/12 of the year is over?
Wow.
Lord,
Yeah, it is. It is. Let me see.
I can't. I mean, it's almost been a year since COVID hit. Can you imagine? I just, it's so intimidating to have time go so quickly, especially when you're old.
Listen, I'm just, I don't know. This year, I think 2020 was so long that for things to be speeding up, it's interesting.
Janae said, hello from snowy DC. It's snowy DC, snowy Baltimore, snowy Philly, snowy
Yep.
Jersey, snowy New York. Yeah, see, and it's still snowing. It's
Yeah.
still snowing.
I
Yeah, I'm
got
doing
somebody on the
well.
bat line that can't get in. Okay.
I was so encouraged last week. Um, I was so encouraged by this event. I got here late because I had another meeting. And when I got here, I saw all of this chatting going on. And, I want you to know that the strategy for D-Free, which assumes people are actually doing it together, derives from a book I read some years before I wrote my book. When I was wrestling with my own issues, I read a book called The Overspent American, written by a Harvard professor. And she said in that book, after she described everything wrong with me and us, she began talking about the fact that reference groups, she calls them
Mhm.
reference groups, represent the potential location for people who are really trying to not just change the way they spend money, but change the way they invest money and change the way they think about money. I know tonight we're talking about attitude. It's easier to change our attitudes towards anything when we're doing it in the company of two or three others. I think that's why the deltas are so effective, because their chapters are already built in to their lives, and then they just drop Dfree into their chapters. So this Monday night chat, I think we have to do a better job at letting people know this is not come to school on Monday night as
Mhm.
much as it is come to the fellowship and chat and share and be encouraged and be interactive. So I left this Monday. I left another meeting early so I could be here on time.
Excellent. Well, we have good news tonight. Good news. We have some overachievers in the room, and hopefully they're on tonight. I want to take a quick moment. We can do housekeeping real quick. If you're new here, welcome. We're excited to have you. Just so you know, everyone's on mute right now. The session is being recorded. The chat is like a hot item. So if you have any questions, any comments, you can throw them in the chat. We also like to have interactive live conversations. So if you're interested in speaking, just raise your hand and we'll get to you as we're going through the comments. But I want to get to something that surprised me. We were going over our stats this morning during our team call, and we always talk about, how many participants, how many graduates, which I did not anticipate having any, but surprise, we actually have 3 graduates already from the
In
course.
3 weeks,
In 3 weeks, we
get
have some
out of here.
overachievers. I want to say congratulations to Latoya Dobson, Cora
Wow.
Green, and Gregory Lawrence. If you guys are on the line tonight, I hope we get to hear from you. Um, that's incredible. I don't think we've had anyone do it in 3 weeks.
Three
So this
weeks.
is
Come
very,
on
very
camera. Tell
exciting.
your story.
I was going to say, I definitely want to hear from you. I hope you're on tonight at some point. But if you graduated already and completed all 12 steps, we definitely want to hear your story.
Took
Was
me three.
also
Took me 3 years, Stanbury. 3 years.
3 years and 3 go rounds for some of us. I think this is my third time taking Dfree and teaching Dfree
My Lord.
as well. One of the other features, if you guys have been in the Dfree Online Academy platform, you know we have a leaderboard. You guys get points. You may not know you're getting points, but as you're doing the activities, you can track how many points you have, and you'll ultimately be able to exchange them for some prizes and things that we have going. So I wanted to acknowledge our top 10 on the leaderboard. So if you see
Wow.
your name there, congratulations. That means you're doing your exercises, you're watching your videos, you're doing the work. Some of these names, of course, are the graduates themselves, but I want to highlight some other people. Gemma Lane, who actually has not graduated yet, is at the top 3 of the leaderboard because she's been doing activities, asking questions. And so we're getting there. And I encourage everyone to continue to use the features of the Academy, because even though it may not feel like we're keeping track, keeping score helps to keep everybody incentivized and excited. And so I just wanted to make sure we acknowledged everyone's progress thus far.
Well, wait a minute, Tamika. I don't know anything about getting points. I probably don't have any. How do you get points?
You do. So when you log into your online academy course,
Yeah.
every time you take a class, you get a certain amount of points. If
Oh,
you ask a question under Ask the Expert, I think you get points. If you participate in the forum, whenever you do these Zoom classes, as long as you're registering your participation, you'll get points as well. And so I don't think we've announced the prizes yet outside of the scholarship for our graduates. So we got 3 people in the pot for the scholarship already. So you
I
guys
was,
better keep it moving.
yeah, I was
So
about to
that
ask you, what can the points, what's the prize for the points?
we have some, I know, definitely know we have some free books. We have some Dfree swag and merchandise that we'll be sending out with your points. We also have, we'll be launching a Dfree store by second quarter so people can use their points for discounts if they wanted to buy some Dfree stuff.
What about trip
Um,
to Bermuda?
I don't think that's on the list. We have not, as an executive committee, tested that experience first. So we would need to test it and then let you guys know whether or not Bermuda is acceptable before we put it on the list.
Wow, that's great. Well,
No, I
congratulations
really,
to these point winners.
yeah.
I didn't know anything about points. I need to get caught up on the process. Get
We
me
have a
some
meeting
points.
tomorrow at I think 11 o'clock, so we can re-show you the leaderboard. But no, this is really exciting to see, and I want to thank the team for making sure that we highlight folks as they go through and use the academy. It's really encouraging, and I leave these sessions just as encouraged as you, Dr. Soares. One, it keeps me connected to the content, but also this year we're all about being closer to our community, and so the more we get to talk and touch and feel you guys, the easier it makes our work, because we want to know exactly what you need so that we can continue to meet those needs.
Yeah.
So
Well, do we give points to people for getting other people to join?
I think we can do
Yeah, we
referrals.
need to get, because if somebody's done in 3 weeks, what are they going to do now? They've got to become a leader, get
Yep.
somebody to join their $1 billion challenge group, get someone else to join the academy. Each one teach one. So yeah, you if you want more points, you got to get more people. By the time you get the people, we'll have the points.
Absolutely. And you can always email us if you're sharing the link directly. Feel free to do that, but you can email us at info@dfreeacademy.org, and we'll make sure that we follow up with your folks. But no, I was super encouraged by the graduates. So this is exciting. So tonight we are talking all about adjusting the attitude. So we want to do a quick check-in on the poll. Raise your hand, first of all, if you did your step 3 homework. Are you in step 3? You got your workbook? You doing your follow-ups?
Yeah, let me see that, because it doesn't make sense to amplify a lesson that people haven't read.
All right, we got some hands raised. I saw some physical hands raised. I got some yeses in the comments. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get the poll started.
Good, good, good.
So let's answer a couple questions.
Okay.
So the first question is, I understand where I can make changes in my financial performance in the areas of debt, delinquencies, and deficits. Answer yes or no or not sure. I'm aware of my spending behaviors that are barriers to me attaining my financial goals. After last week, we should definitely know. And then the last question, of course, is, have you completed step 3, address the mess in academy? So if you guys could take a few seconds and answer those. That would be very helpful.
Wow, that's great.
All right, you guys are
That is
making
great.
progress. You guys are making progress. This is good. If you're in step 3, you're right on schedule. So I don't want anybody to feel bad because they haven't graduated yet. You are following the course plan. And so this is really helpful, that we're right on schedule. All right.
Yeah, there are certain things to make a like tracking your spending that will extend beyond even graduation. And by now, what we're trying to convince people is that if you change your attitude, these won't be isolated tasks, but you'll see a shift in your lifestyle. That's what happened to me. Did I show you last week that Cadillac that I talked about?
No, do you have the picture? Oh gosh.
Oh, Lord, you keep talking. I'm going to show you tonight. I'm going to show you some of my sins.
Oh gosh.
Some
I
of
was
my
talking about
money.
one of my sins just yesterday, my BMW that I bought that my mama encouraged that I sure enough shouldn't have had, but we'll talk about that later. So anybody
Oh,
want to share their adjust the attitude aha moment? What did you learn going through step 3? Anybody want to speak? Raise your hand and it'll bring you to the top if you're interested in sharing live. Okay, let's see. I see Dean Marcelin. Are you interested in speaking or is your hand just raised? If I unmute you,
come on, Dean. Let's hear your voice.
Dean said no. All right, Stacy Davis, I'm going to unmute you. All right, Stacy.
Hey, Stacy.
Hello, everyone. Transparent, vulnerable moment, right? I learned that one, I'm doing better than I thought I was, and
Good.
that was encouraging. But two, there's still more work to be done. The small things really aren't small; they grow up to be big. And a year is the grow up period. So I noticed, like, okay, there are apps in the TV, the internet that I could download that are free, that I don't have to have even a discount, service. No, I don't have cable, but I thought I was doing something with, AT&T TV and only paying $60 a month for cable services, when in all actuality, I could be downloading something free and don't even need that. And that was a way to save. And, I have 2 vehicles, and it's just like, and thank God this is the last payment for both of them. But I just, yeah, $1 billion challenge. But I, I need to be paying attention to gas for both of them, and not necessarily luxury or comfort or desire, when I have a plan, and when it requires sacrifice. So I had to really change my attitude toward things, that even though I think I'm doing well, there's still more work that I can do. So it's not just a cruise control. I'm not at the cruise control period.
Right, right.
That is
That's good
excellent.
news, Stacy. Yeah, that's good news. And that's why it requires ongoing analysis, ongoing assessment. Later on in the workbook, I'm going to urge you, if I haven't already, to take at least 7 minutes a day to look at something related to your finances, because
Mhm.
stuff always changes and stuff comes up. Um, Tamika, I can't share my sins until someone else unshares their screen. And so just let me know when that's possible. Oh, now.
There you go.
Okay. So, when I became a preacher, I was driving a paid for Chevy. And this is the actual car. This is the car. When I when I became a preacher, folks, all the preachers I knew drove Cadillacs. So I traded in my paid for Chevy to buy this Cadillac. Isn't it beautiful? Brand.
It is.
Now, remind you, I am broke. And I was driving this Cadillac. Some months I couldn't even buy gas to last the end of the month, but I felt like a preacher. This is it. And when I changed my attitude, which is what we'll talk about tonight, when I came to my senses, the first thing I did was I sold my luxury Cadillac and I bought this. I went
Oh
from
wow, you have them both.
now this, by the way, this is the actual car. It's not the actual car, but it's the year and the make and the model and the color. This car looks 5 times better than the car I bought, but it was a 2-door Honda stick shift used. I paid cash for it, and I had no more car payments. So the payments that I had been making on the Cadillac, right? The car payments went away. So every month I was able to take the payments that I made on this car that I didn't have to make because I was driving this car and pay down on my debt. And that's how I get out of debt. And there are about 5 more examples. When we do the next round of teaching, these pictures will actually be in the course to verify the reality of all of my financial sins of the past.
Wow, that's major. I remember when I first finished law school and I started working in entertainment, I totaled my car, my paid for Honda, literally months after it was paid for, totaled it. And about 4 to 5 months after that, I had been saving the car note and doing all that. So I had a decent chunk of change, just sitting in my savings account. And I remember feeling bad at work one day. And I left early. I went and got a massage. I went and got my nails done. I went and bought lunch. And I still didn't feel right. So I called my mom and I said, I think I figured it out. I think I need to go buy a car. And I was just like, I was delusional at that point. Like a car was going to make me feel better. And she said, well, do you have money? And I said, yeah, I got money saved. Can you just take me to the dealership this evening? She said, well, do you even know what you want? No, but I've been driving by this lot every morning on our way to work. And that's where I want to go. I went to a luxury car used lot. Luxury used cars, first of all, you shouldn't even buy luxury used cars. And if the lot says luxury used cars, you're just in for it.
Oh,
I walked into the dealership. My mom said, I think that's it. And she found a BMW, a little sports car, super cute. You're a lawyer. You should drive a BMW. She's hyping me up big time. Now, mind you, I worked in New York. I lived down the street from a train station. I didn't need a car to save my life at all. But I walked away with the BMW that night.
Right.
Went back the next morning to finish the documents because it was so late at night. It was about 10 o'clock at night. Went back to finish the documents, signed everything. The car died before I pulled back off the lot. Shut off, would not pick back up, just died. So God was trying to give me an out. My foolish self, instead of getting in the car with my mom and going home, said, well, give me that one. Picked another one off the lot. And it was probably I was hard-headed. And I could not wait to get rid of that car. 3 years later, I traded it in for a Jeep that I don't think I'll ever get rid of. And so I feel you definitely on that. And we also have a couple comments that somebody's driving a basic car now. They used to have a luxury vehicle. But again, to tonight's point, it's about shifting your attitude and the things that what you used to value, you may not value now as you're going through this process. And what you used to pay attention to is not the same. And I think, from a biblical standpoint, in the workbook, we talk about the story of the prodigal son, but also in the book. And I think the examples that both you and I gave were, it might not have been taking our inheritance to spend it early, but we were definitely engaged in some riotous living.
No idea. Yeah, no idea. This chapter, by the way, it was inspired by Luke chapter 15, because in Luke chapter 15, we have a young man who came from a family with means, and he ended up broke. And it says in that chapter that he changed because he came to his senses.
Mm-hmm.
In the King James Version, it says he came to himself. Every Black preacher I know has hollered that expression at least once in his or her life, and he came to himself. And that's really what happens. What happens is we come to our senses. We change our attitude about the way we were living. I felt fine being broke. All my friends were broke.
Mm-hmm.
I felt fine having high credit card bills and paying bills late. And I had to change my attitude, because even after I did some of my finding my spending leaks and other things, if I didn't change the way I thought, the Bible says as a person thinks, so are they. If I didn't change the way I felt towards my own resources, I would have never gotten where I am today. And so before shifting to the next level, which is when you really take control, I felt it was important to really talk about Luke chapter 15. Most people know the story of the prodigal son, but most of us have been taught that story from a moralistic perspective, meaning obey your parents, don't be involved in riotous living. But this man made such a series of bad financial choices. He was impatient. He couldn't wait till his father died. He was impetuous. As soon as he got his money, the Bible says he left and went to a far country. And when he got there, he was impulsive. He spent everything he had. And that was my problem. I couldn't wait until I could afford a Cadillac. I wanted one right then, and I got one. And there's somebody who will help you get anything you want if you're willing to pay high enough interest.
Right.
I was impetuous. I was impulsive. I would borrow money from friends. I would borrow money from girlfriends to buy a jacket if I liked that leather jacket. So I had to change my attitude, and I'm interested in knowing some of the progress that other people are making as it relates to this journey towards financial freedom.
Yeah, we have some good comments in the chat. Anybody want to speak live? I don't want to read your stories because these are actually really good. Let me see. Can I pick on Marissa and her BMW?
I have a hard time reading and talking and thinking at the same time. These chats in Bible study, people are chatting all the time, and it drives me crazy.
All right, Marissa, go ahead and raise your hand and I'll unmute you so you can share your story. And then let's see. Janae, I actually want you to ask your question live too, because that's a good one and it also relates to something else in the workbook. So Marissa, have you raised your hand? Let me see if I can find you. You don't have to come on camera. You can just speak. I got to find you though.
I can't get past these 3 weak people. That's what's
I
good.
know, right? Let's see.
It's almost embarrassing. It took me 3 years to do something it took them 3 weeks to do.
There's so many of you guys. I can't find Marissa. I'm gonna get to you. Let's see. If anybody from the team sees Marissa's name, can you unmute her or request to unmute? In the meantime, I'm gonna go to Janae. All right, Janae.
Good evening. I do know the story about the prodigal son. And while I appreciate Pastor DeSory's and just this whole movement, I get that some people are not necessarily in the church, so they may not know. But when you said that, the first thing I thought of is, let me ask my mother for my inheritance right now. I don't think she can't even get it out. I mean, she would look at me and laugh. And it's not in a bad way, but there's another level of sensitivity to this discussion that you're bringing about that, honestly speaking, I think is something we should even have the discussion about, because I dare say, I don't think too many of us in the Black community even think that that is something we're going to get long term, even if we are, handling our finances right.
Well, first of all, you're right. I know you're right because I see all of the ads for GoFundMe.
Mm-hmm.
And we've allowed GoFundMe to become our insurance company. And so, no, we're not thinking about what we will inherit. But the point of the parable, because remember, this is a story told by Jesus in answer to the question, why do you hang around with such ratchet folks? And so the point was that this young man could not wait, and impatience is a spiritual problem. So it's not whether or not you are impatient for an inheritance. I was impatient for a Cadillac. Right. I could not wait. And when we have a case of the can't waits, that's when we will spend more than we make. That's when we'll pay last month's bills with next week's check. That's when we'll pay high interest rates just to have something right now. It's the opposite of delayed gratification. And that's the point of that part of the parable.
Yes, absolutely. And we're actually going to get to the point around inheritance specifically as we go forward, because you're right. Most of us, if we did ask our parents, we may or may not know that there's an inheritance to be gotten. So that is a fair conversation that we will have very soon. All right, Marissa, I think you're unmuted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
So, excuse me. So my statement was similar to Tamika about the BMW, and I wanted to be fancy. So I went out and made the worst mistake by leasing this thing for 3 years. I don't even want to tell you guys how much I spent over the course of those 3 years on a car that I wasn't even going to keep. And my mindset was, you only live once. So I tend to spend my money on experiences and things that I'll probably never get the opportunity to keep. So the reason why I have that kind of mindset, and I'm still working on that, so you'll have to pray for me, is the idea of generational financial wealth, right? I don't have any children, so I can't take the money with me. So what am I doing? Why am I saving? Why am I sacrificing, the things that I want to do for a generation that I don't have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A study was done that a lecturer from Columbia Business School just talked about the other day. And in that study, what they found was that people gain some level of happiness by using money to buy things they can have, but there is even greater happiness experienced by people who use money to bless other people. That if you just do a straight up happiness index, that scientifically it's been proven that people who use money to be a blessing to someone else have a superior happiness, because there's something about the way we're built, where God has programmed us to care and to want to do something about what we care. And at the end of the book, I talk about at the end of the workbook, I talk about Shaw University and how the chapel at Shaw University was donated by a minister from Brooklyn who graduated from Shaw University. And I explained how he was able to save so much money. And I'll tell you, when he told me his story, I've never seen greater joy. He was so proud to be able to give to his university. And if we're going to close the wealth gap, if we're going to really build our entire community and not just individuals, then persons like yourself will be in a position to contribute to the growth of the community. And I'm just talking about giving money away. I'm talking about investing money in businesses. I'm talking about being an angel investor in startup companies, that you'll be in a position of influence and power because of the discipline you had by not spending everything you earned.
Absolutely. And I think that's also one of the when we talk about adjusting your attitude, one of the key points towards the end of the chapter in the textbook was really about identifying your why and why you're doing this process for yourself. And it may be because, of course, practically you want to get out of debt, or you want to start investing, or you want to buy a house, whatever that thing is. But, to your point, a lot of times you have to create a bigger why than the practical why, because there will be so many things throughout this process practically that will make this feel like it doesn't make sense. So we talked about, people having financial issues just as they decided to start Dfree. Those things could potentially stop you from finishing the process, but really knowing why you're going through this is going to be important as you go through it. Because again, to your point, if you don't have children, then it's okay. Why would I don't have a legacy to leave. But you think about institutions, it's Black History Month. There are organizations within our community that struggle financially because we can't afford to keep them open or keep them sustained. And so there are opportunities for your legacy to extend beyond what your generational line is and beyond your immediate family, because we're in position collectively to be able to build out for what the next generation experiences.
Yeah, Tamika, Ramona says using money to be a blessing to others, unfortunately, has contributed to her financial issue. And that's critical. That's why you have to have a spending plan, because you can't help others beyond your ability to help yourself.
Yep.
It's what we remind people about when we used to fly on airplanes, and they said if the plane gets in trouble and the oxygen falls, put your mask on yourself first.
Yep.
Even if you're with your child, because if you can't breathe, then your child breathing is a short-term fix, but has long-term difficulties. So when we have our spending plans, especially older people, listen, we have a book called Dfree for Seasoned Citizens. And I'm telling you, in that book, there's a whole section on how to say no to your grandchildren, because grandchildren are bleeding their grandparents dry because they know, especially grandma, can't say no.
Yeah.
And the best way to prioritize your needs is to separate your needs from your wants, but to make sure that if you're going to give money away, whether it's to people, to church, to universities, not a Negro College Fund, have a plan and have a budget. And then that will determine how much you're able to help people and how much you're able to give away. So Ramona, thank you for saying that, because it is true. When I went to Liberia to take Dfree to Liberia, and I was teaching about 50 pastors how to use Dfree in their churches, they said, look, we don't know about America, but in Liberia, what's keeping us broke is that there's this cultural pressure on us. The more money you make, the more your family has a right to your income. Oh, and they were challenged by it. And I said, that's not just true here, it's true all over the world. But you have to be disciplined and have your own infrastructure so you'll know exactly how much you're able to give. And when they keep coming, you just show them your budget. Look, you are not in my budget. In fact, if you look at my budget, I need to be in your budget.
Yep. Marceline just said that it's easier to say no when you have a plan. Exactly. You know, we teach people to have, you know, if you're interested in helping your family, make that a line item in your budget and put barriers around it. When you reach your threshold for the month, that's it. There's no more to give. You know what you can afford. And when it's tapped out, it's tapped out. The other thing to think about is also when you're giving, are you giving with an expectation that it's coming back? You know, a lot of times you have to treat some of these loans or these opportunities as money that you can afford to lose if it doesn't come back. And so you need to make sure that you're budgeting and planning enough so that you don't overextend yourself trying to be helpful. And a lot of times, especially now that you have a resource in Dfree, you know, sometimes it's helpful to give people help, but sometimes it's also helpful to help people help themselves and learn how to do exactly what you're doing. And so that's really important. Yep. I've learned to tell people that I'm not the source. I am a resource. Very, very good. You are not in my budget. Another good line. Definitely. One of the other exercises for this step was the needs versus wants exercise. And that always gets people either in trouble or it creates big aha moments. Because again, when you start looking at, before you even look at your budget, thinking about the things that you think you need versus what things actually turn out to be wants. Did anybody have any surprises when they did that exercise? Looking at the things you need versus what you want.
I got a note saying that 2 people raised their hands. Oh, there they are. Stacy
and Marissa. We spoke to them, I think. But Stacy mentioned this when she was talking about her aha moments of looking at what she needed versus what she wanted.
Yeah, I used to think, as all of you know by now, I used to think I needed a new necktie all the time. The need never went away. So the shopping never stopped. The way this got into the book, when I had a class at the church some years ago with young professionals. This was just Dfree for young professionals. Everybody had college degrees. Everybody had good jobs. And one night, this was before the book was written, it just occurred to me to ask the question, you know, what are your needs versus what are your wants? So people had their own paper. They put a line down the middle. They put needs on one side, wants on the other side. And as I walked around the room, there were 74 students in the room. No one was writing. And I'm like, you know, I've got people here who were PhD students at Rutgers in pharmacy, people with master's degrees, and no one was writing because they had never thought about it before. They had never actually thought about the distinction between needs and wants. And after the first round, half of what people had written down as needs were shifted to the other side because they realized they were really wants. And so I said, listen, if it's that challenging, then we should include this in the workbook, because if these young geniuses and well-employed scholars were having a challenge with it, it's a challenge that I think all of us should face sooner than later.
Yep. Tina Tanner says her needs are very minimal in relation to what goes out each month. That's the point of this exercise. That is the point of it. Again, somebody else said my needs are minimal, but when it comes to my children, they need more than I do. Do they really need it? Or do they want it? Or do you need it for your sanity? Because I, as a new parent, I can say certain things are now on my needs list for the sake of my brain power. Let's see. We have a lot of comments around COVID shutting down unnecessary shopping habits and spending. Yes, but online shopping is a thing. We've seen a big pickup in online shopping because people are home, and you start to think of all the things you think you need to make you comfortable being in your own home. I'm guilty of it. I was online looking the other day. I may still do this just because I can't afford a maid and I need help cleaning, but looking for one of those automatic vacuums. I know this is really random, but it's like, do I have 15 minutes to sweep the floor, or do I need a machine that costs a couple $100s to do it for me? Uh-oh, somebody says they know the sound of the delivery truck. We got to get our needs and our wants in order, folks. The power of the click is a crutch.
Yeah, did you see Amy's comment? Amy says the biggest aha was that controlling our lives equals controlling our money.
Yep, we say that day one.
That's my core message, because the reality is we don't teach financial management. We don't. No. This is not a financial management course. We teach life management. If you manage your life, you can then use your money to reach your life's goals. And that's why we don't. I don't think you've ever heard any of my team use the term financial literacy. Right. I was financial literate. I was just a fool. My life was out of control. I was literate, but crazy. And so that is the secret here. The secret is gaining spiritual, mental, emotional, social control over our lives, and then making money work for us instead of us always working for money. That's it, Amy. You got it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see a lot of tactical, practical tips around balancing needs versus wants. Reverend Batterson says that she subscribed to her needs to keep her from unnecessary scrolling. So the things that you know you need, set those on autopilot. That's a good one. That's a good one. Let's see. Somebody was going to paint a room and they decided to do it themselves and save a bunch of money. It stirred up the home project in you. Nikisha, I'm going to caution you, because now you think you're HGTV in one person. Don't go starting all these projects if you can't finish them. It gets expensive over time.
Who's that? Nikisha Ross?
Yes.
I know her. She'll be all right.
Excellent. Anybody else have something to share or something that they discovered doing step 3? This is a pivotal moment, because the homework, I think, for this section is where life gets interesting, because I think this is the step where we ask you to track your spending for a week.
Yeah. The truth is, you won't get a good picture until you've tracked your spending for a month, because I know all of you know this. There's certain expenses you don't have every single week. And if you kind of trick yourself, you can track your expenses week 3, and it doesn't include your rent, it doesn't include your car payment, it doesn't include a lot of things. So a month gives you a real good, solid picture. The week helps you develop the discipline of doing it, because it's really hard to do. But the month gives you the holistic picture that you need to build out your strategy.
Yep. I wanted to bring up Carolyn Phillips. She made a comment earlier that this is, I think, her 4th year working with Dfree, and Carolyn's been one of our advocates for a long time, but I wanted her to share her Dfree experience with us. Carolyn, are you unmuted?
Where are you?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Where are you?
I'm great. I want to thank God for both of you. I wouldn't miss this for anything, because my life has changed, and I am considered a seasoned citizen, but I'm forever young. And I look back at all the things that I did when I was young, and I said, I needed this. And so I took everything serious, and I jumped on the $1 billion challenge. My finances are in order now. I have a saving plan. I'm tithing now. I can give to my family. I'm not overspending. And went on a moratorium with credit cards and said, if I can't pay cash, then I won't get it. because I've had everything I ever wanted, but I had to pay for it too, all the interest and all that foolishness. And so when I'm in the spirit, and this is truly a spiritual walk for me and for our study group, we are so appreciative to you, Dr. Soares and Tamika and the team, because we believe that we are overcomers, and our name is VIP multimillionaires.
Wow.
And we know it's about the spirit, you know, and we can handle our money now and we can support. So our young group now, we have young people, and my son just turned 50 and he is so into it. I mean, I'm just so proud of him. And we started a family group last month, and he introduced Dfree to my nieces and nephews.
Wow.
And I'm just grateful. You know, I don't know how to say anything but thank you for your service and for this. People can't even understand that you're doing this for free, and it's not free. The work that you give us is from the spirit, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you. Carolyn, where are you geographically?
Detroit, Michigan, downtown Detroit. Remember, I met you last year at the our girls came, the ladies came, and we had you signing books and everything in Indianapolis.
I just remember that. Yeah, wonderful. You know, Detroit is coming back downtown, but there's still sections of Detroit that are not benefiting from
Yes.
all of the investment. And I have a real burden for Detroit. So be on the lookout, because I'm going to come as soon as I can start flying again. I'm coming to Detroit to do
Yes.
some extra work there. But thank you for that, and stay in touch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we came through King David. You came to
Yep.
King David,
Yeah.
and that's when I got into it. My social work friend introduced it to me. So I'm still out here trying to get the school social workers and the Black social workers to join, but you know, it takes time. So every time you send me something, I'm sending it to them, whether they do it or not.
Well, that's great. That's great. Well, we find, Tamika, you've seen this. We'll stay in touch with people, but usually something has to happen in their lives or in their community that causes them to really pay attention and not just ignore things. And
Yes.
we call that a catalytic moment. That's what happened in Luke 15. When that young Jewish boy was hanging around them pigs long enough, he said, wait a minute.
So, yeah, this is not right.
This is right. This is not it. So thank you, Carolyn. I'm so encouraged by your words, and I appreciate you expressing yourself.
Yeah.
I'm going to be with you. I'm not going to leave.
Thank you, Carolyn. We're actually going to be in touch with you soon. You've actually inspired people in the chat. They're thanking you as well. So I really appreciate you and your commitment to Dfree and continuing it with your family. It means a lot, and not just because we're looking to build a global brand, but we know that there's a global need. And so you guys really help to drive the message forward, and whatever we can do to empower you to empower others is what, you know, what makes life easier for us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So,
Excellent.
Tamika, Nikisha says the devil is online shopping. She didn't say the devil is in online shopping. The devil
It is him.
is
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. No, we got some good ones in here. Let me see. We got somebody said that they're spending more money on masks for COVID. Every time a new mask comes out, they're looking for the newest thing for their family. Cover your face and keep it simple is what I'm going to say. Cover your face and keep it simple. We have a whole conversation happening around ordering groceries online and asking the kids what they, you know, one or two things that they want versus just shopping. So to Dr. Soares' early point, this is the kind of community we want to foster. Not that we're sharing shopping tips, but the community of information is really what helps to drive people forward in terms of changing their life. There was one other comment that I saw in here about the 7 minutes a day. Camille Chapman says that taking 7 minutes a day really helps her realize that what she's actually spending in relation to her spending plan. And she realized that eating out eats up a lot of money. I don't think we got to the 7 minutes a day yet in the course, but that's what we recommend. If you spend at least 7 minutes a day on something financial, your life will start to shift, period. That's opening your mail, that's checking your bank account, that's looking at what you spent in a day, going back through your debit card records. It could be calling your credit card company and asking for a reduced interest rate. I actually, this month, I went through my bank statement and realized I had been being charged fees when the account that I had was supposed to be a free account. And so I had to go back and recollect a bunch of fees, I think for the last year, that they had been sneaking in, and got me some money back. So it definitely helps.
Yeah. I don't want to go too deep, as a preacher, but, when Carolyn talked about how spiritual this is, and Nikisha also, this whole wants versus needs thing, the Bible says that God will supply all of our needs.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't know the difference between our needs and our wants, we could really be disappointed in God, because God hasn't answered our prayer, when in fact we've been praying for a want and not for a need.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it creates a theological crisis for us, because God only promised to give us what we need. He did
Yep.
not promise to give us everything we want. In fact, some things that we want, not only do we not need, but they're not good for us. That Cadillac was not good for me. And it took me years to learn that what I drive is not as important as where I'm going.
Yeah.
Years.
Absolutely. And I don't ever want to skip past that. I mean, Dfree, it's a biblically based program. You created it that way on purpose, because that guidance outside of the Bible, you wouldn't even think that that's the case.
Right.
And so you may think that you're missing out on something and you're not being answered. And especially in the age where everybody's talking about manifesting and create, if you just tell the universe what you want, it'll show up.
Right.
And that may not necessarily be the case. And you're upset because you're not getting the things that you think you need. But it's really something that you want. And
Yeah.
it's 9 times out of 10, especially in the world that we live in today, driven by something outside of yourself. You only want it because you saw it, or you saw someone with it on Instagram or on Twitter or on Facebook. And so it's really important to kind of check what your motivations are. And so really, again, adjusting your attitude. What are you paying attention to? What are you consuming? And doing that definition. So I think by next week, you should have done your needs versus your wants.
Right.
I don't know if we have the physical copies or the downloadable copy of this, if you can see it. This is my Dfree pledge card. At the very end of this chapter, we talk about taking the Dfree pledge. And I don't know that we can physically mail this, but I know we have an electronic copy that's printable. So we'll make sure we put that on the Academy. But I want to read the pledge quickly, if you don't have your workbook in front of you, because I think this sets up a really good framework for how you think about your money and your life going forward. I pledge to apply Dfree principles in managing my finances. So that's everything we say. You're going to try to take heed of it. I pledge to keep my expenses below my income. So you're going to live within the confines of what you have. I pledge to pay my bills on time, meaning that you're going to be a good steward. You're not going to incur any additional fees. You're going to create a plan for your money that is time bound. I pledge to invest in assets that grow in value. So that's really important. And lastly, I pledge to contribute to my community. And those 5 things really sum up the tenets of Dfree over time. Get started, get control, get ahead, and give back at the very end. And so I just encourage you to keep that framework in mind as you're going through the process, because just doing these basic things should really help to elevate your life, not just your money. It creates order.
It's a strategy. I was trained by Jesse Jackson to be an activist, and we didn't just march, we didn't just protest, we didn't just fuss. We always had a strategy, we had a plan, and we knew what success looked like. And what frustrated me as I was growing into this movement was that we didn't have a strategy. We have complaints, we have analysis, we have dreams, but no strategy. And I just think you can win if you have a good strategy. And that's what that pledge really summarizes: a commitment to a strategy around finances. And it reduces your stress, I'll tell you that. Tamika, that I'm the only Black preacher anywhere on satellite radio. I'm on Sirius XM, and I'm the only Black minister preaching sermons every week on any station. Joel Osteen is on and I'm on, and there's no other Black preacher that has a regular show. And what they said, that Sirius contacted me and they said to me, listen, we love your sermons, but we also love some of the other work you do. So if you could expand your format some, because we'd like our listeners to hear more about Dfree. So I changed the format coming into this year, and I play a shorter version of the sermon, and then I do talk, and I talk about Dfree and you and the $1 Billion Challenge. Every single Sunday, I get email from listeners at SiriusXM asking for help with their finances. Ever since I changed the format, there's never been a Sunday that and sometimes, my first show comes on at 7 a.m.,
Right.
which is 4 o'clock in California. And I get email from California while the show is on, which means that people are listening at 4:20 in the morning, sending email while the show is on, asking for help with their finances.
Wow. Wow. Is it station 126? I think.
Yeah. It's Sirius XM channel 126. It's the Black station. Sharpton's on there. Karen Hunter's on there. The lady that's on CNN, the lawyer that's on CNN, I forgot her name.
Yep. Yep.
Joe Madison is on there from Detroit. Joe is from Detroit. He's in DC now. Joe Madison, he calls himself the Black Eagle, and he just tells everybody off every morning. And I come on Sunday, 7 a.m. I think it's 1 p.m. and 7 p.m., something like that. Look it up. But I come on three times on Sunday.
I got a great question for Beverly Cooper. She's one of my favorite Dfree. She said, is this a paid service? Yes, I believe Sirius XM Radio is a paid service. It comes with some of the newer cars. You can also try to find, at least I think, replay shows on the Sirius XM website. So you can try it there. It's a subscription. Yeah, I think it's like $20 a month. So if you don't have Sirius, don't worry, you're getting it live and direct here on Monday nights. We're not encouraging you to go spend any additional money.
Oh, no, please. You don't, everything that's on Sirius, you can get for free. People, they just don't know it, I guess.
Right. Well, you guys are right here with a direct line in. I know we have about 5 minutes left, and I wanted to speak to, I don't know if it's a question or a comment that Rebecca has made around the dealership calling her daily, trying to get her to upgrade her car.
Every day. Yep, I believe you.
Every single day. They're trying to make sales. They know you're already paying a note, and so they want you to keep paying it or they're trying to get rid of inventory. You think about it. Dealers have been holding on to cars. Probably they have 2018 leftovers that they didn't sell in 2019. They have new 2020 cars because people weren't buying cars last year. And now they have 2021. So you have some dealers that have potentially up to 4 or 5 years worth of new inventory on their lot. They need to move their numbers, hence their phone calls to you. But you need to move your own numbers. So you do what's in your best financial interest. You're not going anywhere. So do you really need a shiny new car? And do you really want another car note? Not really. Not really. The other thing I want to put a pin in real quick, raise your hand if you participate in our Wednesday webinars. Every Wednesday, we have a Dfree webinar at noon Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about training and engagement materials. We talk about Ask the Experts on the 4th Wednesday of the month. And then the second Wednesday is specifically for pastors and clergy leaders. Excellent. We got some good participation. This week's webinar on Wednesday will feature a woman named Jaquette Timmons. She is a financial behaviorist. So everything we talk about, she literally does for a living. It's going to be a great session around adjusting and addressing your behaviors. We're going to do more of a deep dive into what we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, but she really gives you practical tips on how to keep applying the pressure on your behaviors to improve your finances. So,
all right, Tamika, I have an idea. We need to give points to people who not only watch the webinar, but people who share it with other people. You see, if you missed the webinar on Wednesday, you can still watch it after Wednesday's over.
Right.
And somehow if we could figure out a way to get people points for sharing the webinar, that would be another good. I've got a lot of good ideas for points. I didn't know about this point thing. But
We got you, but no, that's a good one. We'll talk about it tomorrow during our meeting. But
yeah,
absolutely, if you're liking and if you're sharing the webinar or sharing our material, let us know. If you're doing it on social media, tag us on Instagram, tag us in Twitter, twag. I can't even talk. Tag us on Facebook, so that we know it's you, and we'll figure out what the point system is, to share it. Let's see. I have one practical question. We just shared the link to register if you needed help. Someone asked, will trading in a luxury car for a non-luxury car affect your credit score? Yes, anytime you do a transaction like that where you're financing something, doesn't matter what kind of car it is. If you're financing a vehicle, it is a hard pull on your credit, sometimes multiple hard pulls, depending on how many banks they reach out to. So yes, it will affect your credit. I wanted to answer that.
but it's not because of the car. It's not
Right.
because you went from luxury to non-luxury. It's because you went from one credit to a different credit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, we got 2 minutes left. Any last minute questions? This was really good. Again, I want to congratulate our graduates. If any of them joined us, we're going to be following up with you directly to get some additional information from you. And I just want to encourage you all to stay the course. Is this helpful? Are you still feeling okay about the process? Is it good? Is your life changing? Anybody had a major life change over the last 4 weeks because of their Dfree experience? Let's close out with one. Let me see. Anybody want to share their one?
Patterson, yep. We're getting a lot of yeses. I had
Somebody paid off a credit card on Friday. All right, Zakaya. Excellent.
Yeah, wonderful. My life changed when I found out people did this in 3 weeks. David Brown was my student at Kane University 20 years ago.
I think David made a comment last week too. Yes, he told us that.
Matter of fact, 30 years ago. Lord.
Yes, people, it's not too late to start. We're just through level 1. So I also want to say congratulations to you all. Somebody paid off a debt to the IRS today. You got a big, that's a big one.
Free at last.
That is a big one. Paid off a car and started an investment account, started to pay off credit cards. Excellent.
Oh, you know what, Tamika, when I first came on, I saw someone ask the question, how do I get started with investing? Go to Dfree, mydfree.org and
Money Lion
solutions, and you'll see Money Lion. You can start investing for as little as $5 in the stock market. I'm not talking about GameStop. I'm talking about a legitimate, that's not illegitimate, but a solid investment account with $5.
Yep.
Just open up an account with Money Lion. It's a fintech, and we work very closely with them. We're celebrating Black History together, and they are the truth.
Absolutely. It's power in your hands. And I also want to say thank you. We have about 12 or 13 people that join us on Thursday evenings for the Money Lion Zooms. That's still available. If you're interested, email info@mydfree.org and we'll get you connected. We have tons of resources. This is what we're doing this year. We're getting as close as possible to you all to make sure that we're getting you the help that you need. I don't want anybody missing out on what is readily available to change your life and change your money. And so if you have friends or family that you think need to be here because they keep calling you to borrow money, just send them this link. They're going to think it's a Cash App link, but just have them show up on Monday nights and we'll get them together. We have some great activity in the chat. Thank you so much for being active and staying connected. Step 4 is all about getting started. We're doing budgets and spending plans next week. So make sure you do your start the plan videos and complete the exercises in the workbook. We look forward to seeing you all next Monday. Actually, you know what? I think this is a date change because of the holiday. Let me just check real quick. I think
it's in February. What holidays in February?
I think we're doing, is it President's Day next week or is that the following week? I think it's the following week. All right, I'm jumping the gun, but just know that one of the sessions this week, instead of President's Day, we're going to meet on that Tuesday because I just want to honor people's day off. So February 16th. So we're meeting next week, which is our regular day. And then the following week, it'll be on a Tuesday.
I'm glad you told me. I don't celebrate President's Day.
Me either, but I didn't want to make people that don't work on that Monday have to log in to Zoom because I think we might all be Zoomed out. But thank you. God bless you. Congratulations to all of you for completing level 1 and congratulations to our graduates. We look forward to seeing you next week. And that's it. Thank you to our team. Great session tonight. Have a great rest of the week. Take care.